between the AMI and the Chartered Institute of Marketing. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Andrew Thornton and I'm the chair of the Australian Marketing Institute, and it's my pleasure to be your host today. Now, before we start, please let me acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Well, earlier this year, the AMI announced a really important partnership with the Chartered Institute of Marketing based in the United Kingdom. Today, we mark this partnership with a really sort of milestone event, a collaboration between the two leading professional bodies. So you've joined us at the right time to sit in on today's presentation. So I'd like to thank those people who have joined us from overseas. We understand there's a number of people dialing in, and we do definitely understand the challenges of the time differences. And also a warm welcome to all the Chartered Institute of Marketing and Australian Marketing Institute members who are joining us locally. Now, as we go through, we'll be allowing you to put up any questions that you may have for us. And so we put that in the chat box. So we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions of our speakers and invite you to submit any questions you may have using, as I say, the chat function at any stage throughout the session, as there will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentations today. So feel free to ask whatever you want of our speakers. And as we know, marketing is all about connection, networking and globalisation. So I'm pleased to announce that we are joined today by strong leaders in the marketing industry, both here and from overseas. Firstly, Bronwyn Powell from the Australian Marketing Institute, our Chief Executive Officer, Stu Cayley from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and our guest speaker, Gina Ballarin, who is on the board of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So we'll hear from our three speakers in a few moments. So to kick off, it's my pleasure to introduce Bronwyn Powell to you. Bronwyn's obviously known to quite a number of you as the CEO of the Australian Marketing Institute. But a little bit more about Bronwyn beyond that. So after a long global marketing career with multinational food companies, Bronwyn is now leading the AMI into a very important period of renewed member engagement with new programs and refreshed professional development and events. She has a new team in place, a new team of very capable individuals, and the support of the board to grow the AMI as we move into 2023 and beyond. She's passionate about ensuring marketing executives continue to lead organisations for growth and that marketers are continuously upskilling so they can thrive in the changing marketing landscape. So on that note, I'll hand over to Bronwyn.
Thank you, Andrew, and welcome everybody to our session today. I'd like to start by saying how great it is for the AMI to have the Chartered Institute of Marketing as our partners. Since February this year, we've been in partnership. And certainly you'll see today our skills and our offers of both of the associations complement each other and support each other to give our members of both associations expanded opportunities. The partnership with CIM enables the AMI members to benefit from an international context, and we'll talk more about that later, by strengthening your professional development opportunities for those marketers in both Australia and also in the UK. AMI CPM members can also use courses and participate in events and use that as a commitment to their CPM status, which I'll talk more about too today. There are over 90 courses available between the offer that we have from AMI and through CIM as well, which is a wonderful world of personal development that's available to you through that combined membership. Members can take advantage of a preferential rate. Of course, I'll tell you about that later. So you can access that and you can access your ongoing professional development. But let me just, before we go further today, tell you a little bit more about the AMI. And what I would like just to acknowledge, first of all, is our corporate members, of which I can see quite a number of you on here today. So thank you. And I know all of our corporate members and our individual members believe in the core of what we're about, which is about creating community. So thank you. And then it would be remiss of me not to also recognise our accredited universities as well in Australia, who are recognised as well in your partnership now with CIM, which grants those students of those universities of those accredited course access to the CIM student portal and to their resources, which is another great resource that's come through this partnership. So who is AMI? I know a lot of you are involved in AMI and know who we are, but for those who are CIM members, I thought it would be useful just to give you a very brief introduction to the Australian Marketing Institute. We are the Australian peak industry body that represents and supports professional marketers. At the core of our purpose is to provide a professional community to support our members throughout their careers. And guess what? We've been doing this next year for nearly 90 years, which is pretty amazing. So why are we here? Our goal is that we ensure that we ignite brilliance in all our marketers. And we do that in 3 key ways. I'm not going to go through all of that today. You can see that for yourself here on the chart, but through connections, through career pathways, through curated content, and finally, through celebration of your career journey. Now, interestingly, in Australia, the professional careers are growing, and marketing as a profession is in significant growth. Professionals, as you can see on the left, are set to grow by 500,000, 500,000 people. And on the right, you can see of that 11.4% growth in the marketing and advertising profession. That's pretty significant growth of our profession. And with that comes the need and the focus on our own professional growth, maintaining our relevancy, and also on recognition of our progression throughout our careers. It's something certainly I do very much believe in. And I do very much believe in, and we do at the AMI, very much focus on our Certified Practicing Marketer, or CPM for short. So you'll hear me say CPM a bit. It's the only peak professional benchmark of its kind in the Asia Pacific region. The CPM status recognises both your formal education and a successful application of your marketing knowledge and skills in practice. So in a nutshell, it's being relevant, staying relevant, and operating at a senior level. The community of committed CPMs is growing year on year in AMI, and it is a way to demonstrate your experienced marketer and one that has high ethical standards and a commitment to staying relevant in a very changing marketing landscape. If you're interested, obviously, in becoming a CPM, there's a QR code on the screen or throughout this presentation. If you have any questions, please just email our membership team and they will happily support you. I can actually see them on the call here today. So what do I get as a CPM? Well, there's actually numerous benefits. I'm not going to go through them all here. You can see them, but I will point out a couple. Obviously, professional credibility and recognition and post-nominals. You saw a few people at the beginning on the slides who had post-nominal after their name of CPM, of which there were a few on this call today, I can see too. Eligibility to mentor in our Emerging Marketers Mentor program that kicks off next year, which is a fantastic program. Judging in our AMI awards, eligibility to be on any of our state committees, that we have a thriving state committee in every single state of Australia. You get the free CMO magazine. And for those of you who have your own businesses, complimentary professional indemnity insurance, and of course, discounts at events. Now, let me just give you a sneak peek, and it's going to be very much a sneak peek, at the work that the Australian Marketing Institute's Professional Advancement Committee has been leading with John Clay at the helm. And they've been developing professional standards and competencies to be a career marketing, including career pathways for all stages of your careers. This will also include curated professional development and training programs and mentoring like our Emerging Marketers program. This is all in development, and you'll see more of this in 2023 from us at AMI. So in conclusion from me, the AMI partnership with CIM gives you access to be both a CPM or a chartered member of the CIM. But with both of those, we have a shared passion around upskilling our marketers through the latest training, through research, through thought leadership, through webinars and best practice. And that's to make our marketers in both Australia, the UK and the world the best in the world. Now, this is the plug slide, which don't stress if you don't get a chance to get the codes down on the next slide. There's a couple of options if you'd like to become a member. I'll put it back up again at the end. The first one in the blue is if you're a CIM member and you would like to become an AMI member, there is a significant discount on the rate. If you put your phone up to the screen, you'll go to the website. If you're an AMI member and you would like to access the CIM membership, again, it's a significant discount. And if those people are on this call today who would like to access all of this, we would ask you enter through AMI and then become an AMI member and then a CIM member. And we have, for those people today who are not a member of any organisation, a 24-hour discount. So there's my cell. We'll give you a discount to join us in the next 24 hours. So we'd love you to be part of our community. So on that note, I'm going to pass back to Andrew. Thank you.
Helps if I unmute. Sorry about that. Thanks, Bronwyn, and thanks for sharing all that great information regarding the AMI and particularly those offers for those who want to either join the AMI or the CIM or become members of both. On that note, I'd like to now welcome one of our CIM partners here today, and Stu Cayley. Stu has almost 20 years of customer experience and digitalisation experience. He has worked across multiple industries, successfully bringing the voice of the customer to the forefront and leading business improvement. Joining the CIM in January 2022, he is in control of everything membership. And with his passion for communications and ethical marketing, he is revamping the CIM offering to support its global network. So please welcome Stu Cayley.
Thanks, Andrew, and hello, everyone. It's great to be in Sydney, actually here, rather than just on a Zoom across the waves. So I thought today I'd just take you through a little bit about CIM and what we're up to. And let's start off with just where we are. So CIM, so we're a professional body for marketing, not just in the UK, but internationally. So we've got 27,000 members across 127 countries. So we're pretty broad in our reach. We've got 130 CIM members in Australia, which is great to see a couple of them on the call. So hi, guys. And then moving on to just some key facts about us. So I guess one of our biggest things is that we hold a royal charter. King Charles is our patron currently. But that charter allows us to bestow chartered status upon our members who work towards it, which is fantastic. I've popped a little picture on the screen. So that's us back in the UK. It's very rarely sunny, but we managed to capture one of those days. But we've been around a little bit longer than AMI, so just over 100 years. But very similar, you know, we've got three main areas that we look at. So we have our membership for our professional body. We've got qualifications arm that's globally recognised that Bronwyn's already touched on. And we've got a training arm as well, where we do in-person and online training too. So moving on to who we work with. So we work with a vast array of people to enable us to represent the marketing profession. And really, we're working across these people, these groups, to increase knowledge of the industry, but also perception as well. So that's something that's really important for us. So I won't go through all of the partners that we do have within our community, but I will obviously just pick out an important one with membership organisations such as AMI. So moving on to just some of our projects. So a key one that we've been working on was beginning of this year, we published the CMO 50 back in January, and that was very UK based. So we're now working on our CMO 75 to really get the voice of marketing out there. And I'm really pleased to say that Bronwyn and some of the team here have been interviewed for that. So look out for that when it comes out in December. Moving on to some of the kind of bits that we found from that project. So our hot topics from the CMO 50 research. Firstly, I guess, is regulation. CMOs are looking for further regulation of marketing and for it to be clearer and more fit for purpose. So we're working with governments and trade bodies, both in the UK and around the world, to help do that. Data and analytics, can't talk this morning, are a key area as well for CMOs. So what we're doing there is providing training on that, especially GDPR, which is pretty huge within the European community, but also helping to understand what to do with your data and how best to use it. Talent management, so really there we're working across supporting members' careers and career progression as well, so helping to support you on that lifetime journey throughout your career. And then sustainability and customer behavior, really that's a content piece for us and training. As Andrew said, I'm pretty keen on ethical marketing, and a lot of us are at CMI. So sustainability is something that we're really keen on. And we will also work with governments to ensure that the correct kind of legislation is in place to stop that kind of thing. So how can we help you? So really, as I said before, what we're doing and our partnership with AMI, which is fantastic, because we complement each other so well. And so we think that our partnership, together with our training and our qualifications, can really help support your career and what you're trying to achieve. And really, our approach is exactly the same as AMI's. So as Bronwyn's already mentioned, it's the three areas. It's career support, it's content, and it's community. They're all really important to us. So I'm going to say thank you. I hope that's been informative, and I'll pass you back to Andrew.
Thanks, Stu. Really interesting. We used to have His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh as the patron of the AMI for many, many years, the late Prince Philip. So there's another connection there along the way as well. So, but thanks for giving that great insight into the CIM and the benefits that members can receive, and some of the burning issues that have come out of the research you've done. So thanks for sharing that. Well, now moving on to our special guest speaker, I'd like to welcome Gina Ballerin to you all. Gina, who relatively early in her career discovered that she doesn't see things the way most people do. Some may say she's strange, some may say she's interesting, but she doesn't see things the same way. That's why she left corporate life as a marketing director to focus on helping marketers around the world do marketing that they are proud of. Oh, and by the way, she sits on a couple of boards, has a master's degree in management communication, is a fellow of the CIM and the fellow of the AMI, and has written a couple of books, 150 plus poems, and has done a TEDx talk. So she's got plenty of time on her hands, as you can tell. But as a communications expert, she specialises in producing high-level thought leadership, coaching marketers and salespeople, and sharing strategic communication advice. But her interest is in helping people find ways to be prouder of who they are, what they do, and how they make a difference in the world by leveraging the power of communication. Please welcome Gina Ballerin to you.
It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you so much for having me. And as a joint member of both camps, I can say I don't know which hat to wear, so I'm just going to wear both of them today.
It's great to have you here, Gina. So obviously we work together quite a bit. You're on the board and I report into the board, so we're always talking. But I've got one question for you to kick us off. And obviously with your joint membership and everything that you do, why do you think it's important to be an international marketeer?
Thank you for the lovely question, Stuart. I think it's really important to be able to identify who you are and where you come from. Now, I've lived in many countries. I've actually lived on 3 different continents, and I've worked with people from 6 different continents that I've serviced as clients. And what you gather from living in multiple different places is a sense of self. In fact, there was an article recently about it in the Harvard Business Review, which is how living abroad helps you develop a clearer sense of self. And they discovered that self-concept clarity has been linked to benefits, including psychological well-being, the ability to cope with stress, and even improve job performance. Now, as an international marketer, we all know that we no longer live in an island. We might have come from islands. In fact, arguably, both the UK and Australia are islands, but that doesn't mean that we need to create an isolationist mentality. So the real question here is, why is it important to think internationally and act locally? Well, the fact of the matter is that we cannot exist on our own. The global world that we're living in means that everyone is as far away as one arm reach out. There is actually a law of proxemics, which means that because we are less than 6 feet away from each other with our cameras, we actually feel more emotionally connected with people now than we did when we were sitting on the opposite side of a boardroom table many years ago. So whether you feel more or less connected with people through a camera, the fact of the matter is that we have the opportunity to create those conversations with people in a way that we never could before. I was fortunate enough, I believe, to become the first fellow of both the Australian Marketing Institute and the CMI under this new partnerships. And CIM, sorry, not Content Marketing, is Content Institute, Chartered Institute of Marketing. The CMI is the Content Marketing Institute. But being a member of both organizations was a real, it was a puzzler in the first place, because why would you want to join both organizations? And the answer was, I couldn't not join both organizations. I grew up in South Africa. I worked for 13 years in the United Kingdom, where I became a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, a chartered marketer, and then subsequently a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Now, in chatting with AMI members over the last few weeks, I got to know a few people via LinkedIn. They were able to share with me that the benefits for being an AMI member are about community. And I found that the benefits of being a CIM member were really that sense of pride in being a marketer. Now, we know that being a marketer is not easy. We have to be able to develop skills in completely new and different ways. In fact, there was some research that came up from the Chartered Institute of Marketing earlier this year in August. And the research told us that 3/5 of young people consider marketing a career choice with good salary and career progression and top incentives. Their parents weren't quite as convinced that marketing was a good choice because they believe that it's a high stress career. And any of those of us who have worked in the industry know that it can at times be incredibly stressful to be a marketer. But there is one very big difference between marketing now and marketing of yesteryear. Today, marketers no longer see themselves as competitors. In fact, today, I believe we see ourselves as collaborators. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more later, but the importance of that is actually that when you are part of a community of marketers, everything changes. You no longer feel like the only people who've got your back are your team. No longer do you have to report only to the person at the top of your organization. No, you are holding yourself to account. You are representing yourself as someone who has a bigger picture, a bigger purpose. Both the CIM and the AMI recognize and acknowledge the importance that marketing plays in this world, but they go one step further. They allow organizations to be able to encourage marketers to learn from each other. And that is the thing that makes a massive difference. Now, I've been in marketing for a while, and back in the early days, I didn't even know what marketing was until I discovered that marketing wasn't what I thought it was. A few years ago, I did a TEDx talk on marketing in the era of authenticity. And it's such an important element that a lot of great organizations will reflect in the way that they teach and train and celebrate marketers who do things with authenticity. Why? Because we're not just making stuff up as we're going along. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. And by doing that, we are able to learn, live, and collaborate in a way that brings greater marketing clarity, efficacy, and indeed pride in our work. Now, the problem is that not all marketers recognize or acknowledge this. And to be fair, our industry has been largely unregulated. I'm pretty sure that everyone who's here on this call has had some bad experiences of marketing in their past. They've really come across people who don't realize what we do. And the problem with that often is that people tar us with the same brush, regardless of whether we are search engine optimization experts, content writers, or indeed website producers and creators. In 2019, the Marketing Week released a survey which said that more than half of marketers, in fact, it was 53.8% of marketers, have not studied marketing at all. Now, that's not a bad thing if we've been in the industry and learned as we go along. And people who have that experience should be celebrated for having collected that experience. But let's make it easier, right? And one of the ways we make it easier is by making sure that we leverage the power of organizations like the AMI and the CIM to become trained in a way that makes us go, oh my goodness, this marketing thing, this thing I do almost without thinking, hey, I'm really good at this. And you know why? Because I know how it works. I did a master's degree before I studied with the CIM to do a professional diploma. And I can honestly say that doing the CIM professional diploma was harder than any academic qualification I've already ever had in my life. But it was also far more worth it.
So Gina, I'm going to ask you another question if I can. So I've picked up on this collaborating thing that you're talking about. Tell me more about that. Do you see marketers, I mean, as competitors or collaborators? And how do you see that's been changing over time for us?
That's a lovely question, Bronwyn. Thank you very much indeed. In the past, I think marketers had a perception that their products or services were competing with everyone else. I know I did when I first entered the industry. And the problem with that is that marketers, by extension, perceive that they were competing with every other marketer. Obviously, I grew up in South Africa and started my marketing career in South Africa before I'd heard of the Chartered Institute of Marketing and did the qualifications there. I thought I had a pretty good degree. I thought I had pretty good qualifications and education and experience. But I had no idea that the things I was doing as a marketer were in fact marketing. Back in the day, and this is a while ago, so please forgive me all of those who are digital natives. Back in the day, I realized that in fact, it was hard to be able to do email. Email personalization wasn't even a thing, right? We were creating newsletters. We were writing press releases. We were creating events. We were inviting people to events. All of this was marketing, but I didn't know about it. Now marketing is commonplace. And as I mentioned earlier, marketers have been tarred with the same brush, that these tactics that basically lure people in without promising or realizing the benefits of what we do. If you're a marketer sitting in that industry, you're not on your own. And that's the important part about marketing being competitors versus collaborators. When we are able to stand up and go, hang on a second, this marketing that we're doing makes sense and it makes a difference, then we can collaborate with our peers to be able to understand what we could do better, what we could do differently, and how we can actually work together. It is a very different world to all those years ago when I first started marketing, because today we have access to data at our fingertips. We have access to tools at our fingertips in the way we never did before. But there's one more differentiator, and that is the fact that we have access to people at our fingertips in a way we never could before. And that, to my mind, is both extraordinary and inspiring. And that's why it is such a pleasure to be a member of both of these organizations, because marketers who have gone over that learning curve, who realize that collaboration is far more important than competition, realize that they've got nothing to lose by sharing information. Now, of course, I do sit on the Chartered Institute of Marketing board, so I realize that there's some things that you can't share, unfortunately. There's a nature of confidentiality that comes with being a leader in an organization. But anyone who's a leader around this table here or listening into this webinar knows that leadership can be extremely lonely. It doesn't have to be. There are people who have been in your position, who understand what it is to share relevant information that doesn't give away the secret sauce. And there are people right on this webinar who know that marketers have felt your pain, and maybe they can even share some wise tips and advice. Before we attended the event today, I reached out to certified practicing marketers, CPMs, across Australia, and the response I got was incredible. CPMs are warm and welcoming. They are responsive and engaging. They are a wonderful breed of people. And AMI members are a fantastically open group that will really join you as part of the marketing world. But remember, marketing doesn't happen on your own. No marketer should ever think that they have to do it all themselves. Even if you are only a marketer of one in an organization, remember that you have a whole world of resources, and particularly you have a world of resources that are available to you through the CIM and the AMI. And if you haven't become a member of either or both of them, you should seriously be considering that.
That was great. Thanks, Gina. So off the back of those two questions, I'm going to ask you, what's the one piece of advice that you'd give those on the call today?
I think the most important thing to realize is that because we're not alone, it is possible to get extraordinarily help, advice, and guidance from those around us. But the problem is that human nature is we're reluctant. We're reluctant to reach out. We're reluctant to ask for help. The same applies whether I'm giving people inspiring keynote addresses about women in leadership, or whether I'm talking to other marketers who are struggling through the challenges that they face in their organizations. It is this: you are not alone. You don't have to do this all on your own. But the bravest thing we can ever do is not to do it on our own, but in fact, to reach out to others. That "can you help me" question is so terrifying sometimes. It can be incredibly scary to say, oh, I need help with X, or who do you know who can help with Y? And that's the funny thing. The piece of advice I would leave people with is this: actually, asking for help can be a gift to the person who you're asking. Because more often than not, with intentions of collaboration, you can, in fact, give people the ability to help you. And that can feel really, really good to the person who's giving the help. So if you take nothing away from today, and if you never become a member, that's all right. But just realize you can't do it on your own. And if you don't ask for help, no one will ever know that you need help. You deserve it. Go get that help.
Thanks, Gina. I'm inspired. I hope everybody else is inspired. And I have to say, as a fellow of AMI and a fellow of CIM, I'm in the same community as you, Gina, and we've only just recently met. And I will be reaching out, and I will probably reach out to others on this call. So it's been wonderful to have you here today. Thank you very much. Very insightful and much appreciated. Now, we only have 8 minutes left. I have got a few questions that have come through on the email, but I'm also going to have a look in here that we actually don't have any questions yet. Let me see. Okay, so I might just start with one question that I've got for Stu, which came through on the email, if I can, Stu, if that's okay. And then we might have one more here in the chat. But what is CIM doing to make sure it supports global members?
I think that's a really good question. So obviously we started off as a UK professional body, and we've grown and grown and grown over the years. So that's always been a challenge for us. But one thing we have just done, so any of our members on the call would have seen, we've just completed our membership census. And so what that was going out asking, the world has changed. You guys have all changed as well. How do we need to change to make sure that we represent our global community? And the fantastic responses that we've got back are really going to be molding how we move forward. So 2023 is a really exciting year for us coming up, and we're really looking to kind of rise even more to the challenge of supporting our global membership.
Thanks, Stu. So we have one comment about actually setting up in Dubai, so bridging the UK and Australia. So Stu and I'll take that one, see if we can connect the bridge in Dubai. But I do know that we have, certainly at CIM, and we have members in the Middle East, and we welcome members from there. In fact, in the AMI, and you saw on Stu's chart before, we have in AMI, we have a significant overseas membership base. So we welcome members from everywhere in the world. And I know, how many countries, Stu, are you again?
127, and kind of UAE is very much a growing market for us. We're working with some great universities over there and seeing more and more members joining.
Great. So I had another question that came through on the email. Then that was, how do I benefit from having both a joint AMI and CIM? So maybe, Stu, I kick it off, and I can talk to the AMI part, and you can talk again to the CIM. Well, certainly, Stu and I had a lot of conversations about this, actually. And one of the things that definitely is, and as I said it before, is that we see that we support each other. We're very, very complementary pieces of these associations. In Australia, we're building an Australian community in CIM, and with our connection there, we're building an international community, which is really, really important. One of the things that Gina touched on before that I certainly have found in my time of being involved in the AMI is that we have a wonderful group of people in this organisation and in this in our community. And I've got to meet a lot of them through our local events that we do, through our gala, through judging and awards, through being in the Emerging Marketers mentoring program. But you cannot be lonely by being in the AMI. You always have someone you can lean on and go to. So I would urge you in that sense of, looking at the AMI, because we do really have a sense of community. And I don't know, Stu, do you want to talk about, what the benefits again of, obviously CIM, which are complementary to ours?
Yeah, I guess, we've got things that are very much the same, in terms of content and the work that we're doing across the wider industry. I think we're joined up pretty much on that side of things. As I said before, we've got a wealth of both qualifications and training that is available to our members. Some of it even for free, depending on your grade. But I think the reason for having that joint membership really is getting the best of both worlds. Because even though we're able to put out the content, the training, the quals that I just mentioned, I think what AMI are doing locally in Australia is fantastic in terms of that networking, in terms of the community. When Bronwyn, you were telling me all about it, I was getting quite jealous actually, because I think you do a lot more in person and face-to-face stuff that we do, because we just haven't returned to that in the UK. And also we don't have the program at the moment to be doing that across the world. So whilst that's something that is very much in our plans, I think that's something that you guys are already way ahead of and doing here, because you're a friendly bunch.
If I may add one feature of being a member of the CIM, which I found incredibly beneficial and in fact is worth its membership just on its own, that is that the CIM provides access to anyone who is a member to EBSCOhost, which is an international research database. It's actually very easy to use, and it is like having Google at your fingertips, only with credentials and credibility. It's like having vetted, academic, relevant, worthwhile, trustworthy sources of Google at your fingertips. So that was definitely a benefit that I've seen.
Yes, agree. So I don't think we've got any other questions in the chat, unless I have missed anything. Maria, who's a support NAMI. So we have also posted in the chat some emails of our membership team that's led by Ben, who is on this call today. So I would urge you, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out, because we can answer that, or if we can direct you to the right person in CIM. We have put the codes back up on the screen. Again, very easy. If you don't know how to do it, place your camera up and you will go to the relevant part of the website to be able to join. And I think on that note, I will pass back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Bronwyn, and thank you all for your fine sharing of the insights from each of our speakers. I think those tuning in today would have got a lot out of those perspectives that were shared. So thank you again, Bronwyn, Stu and Gina, for those insights. And thank you all for joining us today. We know some are near, some are far, but thank you for making the effort to be with us, and we hope that you found this a very constructive session to be in. Just picking up what Bronwyn was saying, if there's any more information that you require, please either email us using the AMI membership email address, or simply just call the AMI office and someone will come back to you to address your questions. Thanks again for joining us, and have a lovely afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in this world. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well done.